Hey everybody, it's really nice to be back. I haven't been streaming for ages, it seems. It seems like, in fact, I'm 90% sure it has been, I haven't come up. I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've looked and talked to my camera this year. So I'm really excited to be with you this evening my time, or this morning if it's your morning, or this afternoon, or whenever it is. Hi, it's really nice to see you. I encourage you to wave in the comments, and I'll try to get a comment back to you. And what else should we talk about? Well, we should talk about Servo. So the stream today is going to be quite fun. It's going to be very interactive, I suppose. We are going to go and see we're going to compile some software. And first of all, if you don't know what compiling is, that's going to be a challenge. But we're going to be installing a piece of software called Servo, which is actually a web browser that you probably haven't heard of if you haven't used the Rust project before, or you haven't encountered the history of the Rust project. So this used to live at inside Mozilla for many years. It turns 10 this year. So Servo is written in Rust and shares code with the Mozilla Firefox and the wider Rust ecosystem. Now it has actually been pulled away from Mozilla. I'm not sure if it's been pulled away from Mozilla or if Mozilla kind of pushed it out. Today it lives inside the Linux Foundation, and it receives a reasonable amount, actually I should say a small amount of commercial support from several people, I should say several companies of which I know very little about. I'm actually not I'm not part of the project from a contributing point of view, but I've been kind of an admirer of Servo. It drove the development of the Rust language, which I am a big fan of. I'll try and change that so this is all very boring, but what we're looking at here is the instructions for contributing. Instead of clicking the download button, I'm on the Servo website. We're actually going to be downloading the source code and converting it to our own binary. And I've done some of the steps myself. I've gone a few steps ahead. But really, I want to try to demonstrate that this is something that you can do yourself, and I'm going to try and explain some of the jargon in terms of like what's actually happening. So inside the source code, so the URL that I am at, and what would you use? Okay, so actually we've had our first question, which I would like to pause to answer. So the question is, like John asks, well, why would you use Servo? That's a good question. So in fact, that's actually a question that they're asking themselves. So if you go into the discussion panel, they say, what would be a meaningful niche for the project? And they're kind of in this introspection stage where, like, is it alive? Is it dead? Here are some ideas that they have got. You could create a sandbox rendering engine either inside or alongside like a WASM runtime, such as Lucene or WASMtime, so that effectively if you you could add another layer of isolation between you and the world. So you could spin up a web browser inside some external, inside your operating system that would kind of be internally firewalled from the rest of your application. The rest of your OS. So your PDF renderer doesn't need to be able to open a network socket. It can't, for example, it can't read any other files on the file system except for only the PDF that it's actually been presented with. I quite like this idea. You could use it as a sort of something that you can script, or you could embed it in somewhere else. I really like the idea of creating a sort of a single binary that enables you to kind of create Rust. Sorry, I've got a couple of things going on in my head at the moment. I really like the idea of being able to have a single binary, that has your entire project. So I really want to see desktop applications being cool again. And one of the people that are doing this, at least in the Rust landscape, is I'm not sure if this is pronounced Tauri or Tori, for example. But here is a company, Tauri, that enables you to create applications locally for users. And I'll add this one up here. So there's another link that I'll share with everyone. And oh crap, they've got a spammer. That's nice, isn't that cool? Block. Yeah, so we've got Tauri, but they actually need to rely on another browser engine. I think they embed Electron. It would be nice if you didn't need to embed Electron. I would like diversity there. Anyway, so there's some place to look. There's a lot of to me though, the idea that you would embed your have a web engine that is kind of embedded inside another app is kind of cool. Oh look, and someone actually has mentioned Tauri as well. The problem really is that Josh Matthews is actually a long-standing contributor to the project, and he worked at Mozilla for many years. And his view is that something is broken inside the project, and you need like a lot of engineering effort to really get a lot of mileage out of Servo. It's kind of been defunded at a really bad time in its life. So here we go. The default one is both incomplete and constructed in ways that make it impossible to implement parts of the CSS spec correctly. So that's a problem. Like, it doesn't work. I think actually you could get around that. My understanding is it renders a lot of the web, and if it was for your own application, you could probably restrict it to some subset of CSS that does work, but whatever. It turns out there's a better one, a new layout engine, but it was also incomplete, and in fact to a much larger degree. It was focused on correctness, but it's weird. So and parallelizable. So unfortunately the parallelizable part of that means it's completely unique compared to other web engines and still largely full of open questions. I think the underlying message there is that it's really hard to pick up. And the idea is that actually if you really wanted for the Servo to be viable as an embedded engine, you need a new layout engine again, which is simple and uses the same algorithms that everyone else does. Hopefully that answers your question, John. Random People has put up a really good point, which is that on Linux we don't rely on, I assume that's Tauri doesn't rely on Electron, it relies on WebGTK, WebKit GTK. Cool. Okay, so let's get to building this thing. Okay, so how do we start? I'm going to be using the terminal inside VS Code. Now I already have the README open, and I would like to just change one bit. Oops, and this is okay. I kind of want to hide everything except for take away the preview, let's say. So the first command that I need to run is git, actually I'll go back downstairs, I say git clone, and I added -- depth 1 because the Servo project is massive and it was well over a gigabyte in terms of downloads. Now I'm going to write Servo 2 or Servo, no I'm not, I'm going to write Servo 2 because I already have a Servo project, which is actually where my own editor is living. So if you're inside a terminal now, I'll just copy and paste that command. These are actually all taken from the README. I've tried to make it as readable as possible. Okay, so we just had a follow-up question. Just dropped in, did you say that Tauri relied on Electron? My understanding is that it does, and we've had a previous comment say that on Linux it doesn't. And here is a question, are you on Linux? Yes, the answer to that is I am on Linux. I run Ubuntu. I'm just posting the, actually I just had a typo in there, command that I ran just then. How powerful is your machine, I think is the next question. It's actually quite powerful. I don't actually, I think it's 32 gigabytes of RAM. It's like a serious computer. Let me look up the actually what should I think it, what's a command that will show me the stats and give me a pretty picture of my thing. I'm sure that someone in the comments will be able to tell me. It's like pops up on like a Linux subreddit all the time. Anyway, okay, so I've got, so this is the other thing that I need is Rust. So so again, I'm in the README and I can copy and I've got Rust installed already, but if I run curl, which is just download this -sf adds some security flags. It will ensure that there's HTTPS and so forth, and then I can run the installer. This will look like oh, you've already got it installed, we don't need to do much. Welcome to Rust. This will download and install. Okay, so I don't need to do anything, so I'm going to click cancel, but you can go with default. And after that, and so there are instructions for several operating systems inside the README. Okay, we've just had a follow-up comment on Tauri, just to say that Electron, or my understanding was incorrect, that instead it will rely on whatever the platform provides as its kind of way to display web pages, which is cool, which is really cool. It's much more efficient than bundling Electron, like bundling another installation of Chrome inside your computer. Okay, so I'm going to skip down to Debian-based distros. I've got, so first thing we need is we need to install pip. Oh, sorry, we need to install pip and virtualenv. And it is already going to be installed. I think I just mistyped my password. Okay, good, we're done. And then I've got, I'll just check where I am. Okay, I need to cd into Servo 2. And then I will need to call this command mac bootstrap. Now the question is like, well, what on earth is this mac thing? Mac is, or Mach, if you are German, I suppose. Mach is, or Mach is a a little Python thing that, oh, it's actually Bash. It's just a little, oh no, it just runs commands on your behalf. And it's a Bash script that then invokes Python, which is fun. It's just a little helper thing. If you're in the Rust community, you'll be familiar with Cargo. Mac is a little bit like Cargo, just for Mozilla-based projects. Okay, so for me, I've already got the dependencies, but I assume that people watching this stream might not be familiar with what some of these dependencies actually are. So I thought I would spend, let's say 20 seconds or more, probably more, on explaining what they are. So this one of the commands that it will ask if it fails is to just do it all manually. So I need Git. Git is a version control system. It is what enables me to download the software that I'm running. Curl would have needed to be faster. I probably would have needed to be in earlier because I just used it to install Rust. It is kind of like a command line web downloader. So if you right click and download a file and to save it into your downloads folder, curl does that for you on the terminal. Autoconf works with your C compiler, or in fact lots of compilers, to go and inspect your system to see what you have enabled. That makes sense if you're in the business of compiling software. If you're not, don't worry about it. It's just important for the rest of the tooling. Oh, goodness me. I'm putting... Oh, goodness gracious. I just tried to block someone and ended up showing them. Okay, right, so where were we? I was at libx11. So libx11 I assume works with the Windows, the X window system. Free type is, and the 6 there is version. So lib free type enables your software to render fonts. libgl mesa, or dry, which I assume is a driver, the Mesa driver for libgl. So this is an OpenGL binding, which is the way that your software can talk to the graphics card. libgl glib2, that looks, GL is an indicator that it's something else graphics related. Xorg dev is part of like a kind of a collection of pieces of software that work with the desktop. gperf is a performance monitoring. It's kind of like it's a performance thing. It enables you to inspect the performance of your programs. G++ is a C++ compiler. You may wonder why you need a C++ compiler inside a Rust project. Turns out that there's actually several moving parts inside the thing, and you do actually end up needing both. Build Essential is what they call a meta package. It includes several other tools that relate to compilation. The CMake is a tool that invokes other tools in the same way that Mach or Make does above in the Bootstrap thing. Okay, libSSL dev. libSSL enables you to make secure network connections and has a lot of other cryptographic functionality. liblzma is compression. libxmu6 and dev, I don't know what they do. You could probably search for XMU and find out. XCB, I think this is a file and image format, and it looks like we've got render here and shape and fixes. So I assume those three on this line allow Servo to render vectors, sort of mathematical descriptions of shapes. libgl es2, something else related to graphics, libgl1, graphics, libdbus. Dbus is a connectivity protocol inside Linux. It enables the Servo engine to communicate with other applications. libhalfbuzz, I did know this, it comes up later, but I don't remember exactly what it does. It's fun, it's kind of neat. I can't remember exactly why. Ccache is a tool that keeps compilation units. It's a cache for your C compiler to speed things up. A lot of graphics, yeah, people are like, a lot of graphics packages, and that's right. Like, there's a lot of stuff relating to graphics. Clang or Clang, depending on your preference, is a C compiler as well. So notice we have a C++ compiler from actually the GNU suite, turns out, and Clang or Clang from like the other side of, it's kind of two warring factions in the compiler, in the open source or free software compiler space. Clang is a C compiler. libunwind enables you to unwind the stack, and if you have a crash in your program, it will print out every single function call that, or every stack frame that you had got to before crashing. It's a way to enable debugging. GStreamer relates to sound. It enables you to kind of multiplex different sounds and out them, and kind of, so that's all of those. And there are a bunch of plugins that are required, and it's a very extensible program. It's humongous. Now LLVM dev is, I thought, really interesting. So this is another compiler. So in order to compile our project, we need Rust, we need C, we need C++, we also need Python. So we're at 5 languages, at least, probably more. I'm pretty sure Build Essential probably bakes in Perl and or whatever else. Okay. Right. So one question that's sort of popped up that I thought we may as well answer, at least to attempt to answer, is, well, why would you need this? Well, if you've already got WebView, why would you need another one? And one of the reasons is that it goes back to the initial motivation, is the fact that it's in the README. Parallel browser engine. There it is, right there in the top. Okay, so Servo can make use of multiple cores much more easily than other web browsers because it's built with Rust, which enables multi-core much more easily than C++, which is what the others are written in. Now, it turns out that not all of those claims are so that's the motivation. The motivation is that we can go faster on we can serve users better by using more of their software cores. Turns out that claim doesn't make all of the problem go away. It's still really hard to write a browser engine. And so right, okay, so where are we? We've got our dependencies. And if you're playing along at home, you get to the hard part. So we've got lots of different things for different. I'm just going to readme markdown preview, and we'll see if we can. Maybe this will render a bit nicer. Cloning the repo, we've done that. So this is the normal build, which, oh goodness me. Normal build. To build Servo in development mode. So we just run mac build --dev. I'm going to go back into Servo 1, which is where I am now, and try and run this. I don't actually know if it works. So this is as far as I got before the stream. This is genuinely me trying it out live. Now, again, we will create, so both Mac build will build both servo and lib simple servo. Oh, should we just, maybe we'll just build a binary. I wonder what lib simple servo means. I think that's fun because that kind of implies that there is like a baby embeddable web browser in there. While we're here, I want to do something else, which is to show you. So it's building away and it's taking a long time, but this is quite a boring kind of thing to do. So let's. Oh, it's downloading Rust C dev, which is weird. I want to go into. It does actually warn me that it needs its own copy of the Rust compiler, and I am concerned now that it's also compiling Rust as long as I'm concerned now that it has to compile Rust as well as Servo. It looks like it has to compile compile Rust. Good. Okay, so that's going to do. My computer is probably going to melt. If it melts, I'm sorry about this. Okay, and now I'm in Servo. Now okay, good. I'm actually already there. Now I want to run mac --help. And it's actually got several quite fun utilities that it can do. For example, you can change the layout engine when you're building. My computer is really starting to hurt now, but if we run build, I wonder what I run mac build help. Okay, I get a whole bunch of different things that I could do. So there's the new layout engine with layout 2020. That means that there's at least 3. There's the default layout engine, the 2013 implementation, and the 2020. Ooh, for Magic Leap. Wow. See, it's not vaporware. It exists inside Servo. What I'm hoping to do, the other thing we can just see oh look, now I'm downloading a whole bunch of Git submodules, so I think this is not going to be quick. So let's go and inspect the Servo source code. And so who here has looked at Rust? One of the things that we are going to do is, oh, it's quite hard for you to see. There's a whole bunch of stuff. But a good place to start with a Rust project is to look in the cargo.toml file, because that will show you where all of the what we call workspace members are. So we have a GStreamer plugin, apparently, all the unit tests. That wasn't actually exactly what I wanted to find. I wonder if each of these components need, so for example, I've got there's a geometry crate, servo geometry, and it goes and let's find out what it does. Units for use with Euclid length and scale factor. So one of the things that we could do is we can completely distort the the calculation of like pixels. Like what does a pixel mean? Well, we can choose. And it will be fun to see how web pages are displayed once we have our web browser. We're making progress, so our little bit on the right is moving forward, so that's useful. Be interesting to see what would happen if I have like top running. I wonder if it will work. I might bring it up on a different terminal. Just a second. Yeah, so I'm running all of my cores hot. Just a second. So excuse me. Oh, actually, I'll change my settings, preferences. Standard colors. Okay, good. I'll bring this over here so you can kind of see what my computer is doing. If I run hchop, it's a 12 core machine with 32 gigs of RAM, and everything is working really, really hard to deliver you a stream doing all the transcoding, also compiling. So yeah, hopefully you're still with me, and it actually is. Oh, but apparently it's my IDE that's actually taking up all of the memory. So I'm going to just try and kill that one because I'm not actually using it currently. If you've got any questions or anything, let me know. Oh, hey John, by the way, yeah, okay, so peace out. I will go eat. That's an important job. I do have a Discord. If you connect with me on... I do have a Discord. Wait. Sorry. My computer is now ground to a halt. I need this button. So I'm going to post a link into my Discord. It's still, it's only a couple hundred people, but so it's still pretty quiet. However, anyone is welcome to participate. Okay, so I just freed up some RAM there. Now I've got Chrome hogging a lot, as well as 300% CPU apparently, which is nice. Sort by right. So even though if I got up to the top. Even though I'm compiling quite a serious piece of software, it's still the web browser that's taking the most amount of CPU. That's probably because it's doing it's doing all the transcoding. Okay, so where are we at? It's actually, we're at 700 out of 740 components compiled. I don't know what that means really. Uh, let's assume that means that we're pretty close to the end. Okay, so what I want to, I really want the first build is going to be the slowest. But once we have the first build, let's try and break it and kind of see what else we can do. Right, so there, by the way, and so there's layout. So this is the body of the layout engine. And the layout engine is the component of the web browser that says, given all the CSS and all the HTML, how is everything supposed to look on the screen? It turns out that it's really hard to write properly, and Servo has at least two of them. So it's got layout 2020, layout thread, and layout thread 2020. I wonder what layout thread is. The layout thread performs the layout on the DOM, builds displays list, and sends them to be painted. That's fun. I think if we really wanted to tinker with how things are colored, then we would definitely play around in here. By the way, I'm still trying to send my Discord link if you are waiting patiently. But my browser is like everything is kind of frozen. I'm hoping that, and things haven't quite crashed, but they're close to it. I'm hoping that you're still getting something. And we're getting closer to the end now. We're at 712 out of 713 done out of 740. Now, that's okay. It's pretty good. We've hung out for this long. Oh, text. I wonder how. I wonder how we can muck up text. Although, do you really want to muck it up, or do you want to help? I'm not sure, but there must be something fun that you could do. Fix me. I love things like this. It's like, no, I know this. Like, I know this isn't what we want to do, but hey, it works. We'll try and find some interesting Rust code as well. Some useful jargon. A clump apparently is a bunch of text. Oh, that's boring. It's amazing, really, when you think about it, like how hard it is to put. In this case, I'm in the table cell module. It's crazy that there is a table cell module that is hundreds of lines long. So it's 500 lines of source code to describe how a cell inside a table, I guess it's every cell in every table, should look. Floats, what does that do? Right, so it's a CSS float, not a it's not a blah, blah. It's not a floating point number. Hopefully we'll get to the point where there is a a browser that I can just run. I don't have to dominate all 12 of my precious CPU cores. What I should have done really was like dedicate. I should have reduced the number of jobs on the compiler so that the rest of my system didn't freeze. That would have been smart. Should have added that J flag. That would have been real useful. I guess the worst thing that could happen if you break the layout engine is that things crash. I'm really interested to know whether or not I can do better than Chrome. I mean, I can't individually, as an individual. It's quite hard to know if it would be possible. But I think it's horrible that web browsers need hundreds of megabytes of RAM. Seems like too many megabytes. I just feel that, you know, ultimately, I mean, there's a lot of work to do, isn't there? But just seems like you need too much memory. What can we do with this? This is the Pixels. Pixels sort of subcrate, and we've got Euclids, so we can definitely muck around with the geometries and try to mess up the calculation for like how wide a thing is. I just saw a speed up with SimD, and I just kind of like my eyes just kind of like, it's like, oh, that's fantastic. So what this is, so PC Walton is quite a famous person inside the Rust community, and they have said we should speed up this little thing up with what we call single instruction multiple data, which is a fancy way to say that we could make use of the most of the CPU's capability. Instead of doing things byte by byte, or in this case chunk by chunk, and a chunk is 4 bytes long, then we could actually do it in groups of 256 divided by 32. So I need to figure, I think it's 8. Now I will take John off the demo. Oh, sorry, off the. Bah. I'm trying to think. There was a question actually before, like, what time is it? It is just, it's 10:15 at night. So I'm starting to lose it a little bit. I didn't expect that this would take so long to compile. For whatever reason, I was like, oh yeah, it's a Rust project, it might take a few minutes. I forgot that actually big software projects take a long time. Then but I feel like we're so close. Style was completed in 6 minutes it took. So what's inside style? I've often wondered how CSS is implemented. Mozilla, as a matter of fact, I read recently, did not like the idea of CSS selectors originally, sort of back in the 90s. They came from elsewhere. I'm pretty sure they were a Microsoft innovation, if we should say. Some of my friends do not like the use of the term innovation related to Microsoft, but let's give them that. They've got bloom filters, which is fun. It's weird that they would implement their own bloom filter inside the crate. Why didn't they use a different one? Why would they implement fundamental algorithms themselves? Okay, whatever. Guess that's their prerogative. Allow unsafe code. That's weird. So this is a marker to say that this particular module can use the unsafe keyword. Now let's see what they do with unsafe. Unsafe is really important when you're dealing with raw pointers. It effectively changes the rules so that Rust will believe you if you tell it that the memory is valid. If you use the unsafe, I'll hunt for it, unsafe. If so there. Sorry, I've just paused there because I'm trying to understand what's going on here without actually knowing anything about browser engines. Right. So if this element we're styling, so we let's say we have a tag, we want to apply some style to it. We have it's kind of a logic engine. We are like a rules engine. We're trying to say which rules apply to which tags. I assume that's what's happening. Inside, for some reason, the set selector flags function is marked as unsafe. And you know why? Because actually the thing that's doing it is Gecko. So Servo still builds. Servo still relies on some other external components, and I think they also still rely on the Gecko. Gecko is a bit of software that is part of Firefox, and it needs to be unsafe because you need to rely on. Rust can't introspect code that's written in C++. And Servo, not Servo, Gecko is written in C++. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff. The shadow root trait. I don't know what that means. Maybe the top of the file will tell me. It does look like we're oh no, we're at building 736. So we are over 99% of the way there now. And we'll have our very own web browser. I'll have my baby's own web browser. It's only there are many web browsers. This one is mine. Probably not a great use of the world's electricity. I'm conscious of that, but hopefully. Oh look, and they even I was going to say they even used accents in their source code, which is nice, and they've derived their code from WebKit. We've got these Bezier curves. That's fine. Huh. By the way, a lot of Servo was written, so I say huh here because approximately equal sounds a lot like partial equality. Now Rust originally didn't Servo actually in Rust were created in lockstep, and so this may be an instance where Servo started first and created a trait. They wanted to know whether or not you could see if two floating points are within an epsilon value, and you can see here that we're comparing in this case x with x2, and epsilon is defined as it still comes from further out, but it's normally we can patch this ourselves. If epsilon equals 0, then we could say that actually we'll need to change it to mutable. if epsilon was 0, then we should say that epsilon equals, and we could say F5064 epsilon. It turns out there's now a constant inside the language. And it's different. I mean, it's 0, sorry, that's odd. I'm going to change that. I'm not going to use that value. I need to be careful though that I don't add too many zeros because I need it to be representable inside binary, inside the floating point standard. If I add, 500 of them, I will no longer be able to have that fraction represented inside the computer, and it will just truncate it to 0, I think, although it probably will give me a compiler warning. Oh, sorry. Okay, so my computer is now coming back to life, which is really cool. If you've got any questions, by the way, just ask. That's what the chat's for. It's the cool thing about being live. You can ask. So we currently are just mucking around, waiting for this thing to compile, trying to see what we can break to change the behavior of the web browser. Now, one of the... so where's something fun that would be cool to change? Let's just... the problem is I don't know if I will get it, like if I'll make a fun effect. Like it probably, the most likely thing to happen is I'll change something and it will just crash. Font matrix. No, what I would like to do is change the colors so that all tables are... oh, build complete. 25 minutes. Well done for sticking with the build. Okay, so it took me 20 minutes to build a browser engine. So that's cool. Now the question is, where is it? Now it should be inside target. Probably debug. And there is servo. Okay, so if I run... so I'm currently, by the way, so I'm in the directory now. That the Git repository, and I've run mac build --dev. So I've got a dev build, which apparently is a slow version of the browser. Now I want to go target, debug, servo, and now this should open up a web browser. Hey, a web browser that does nothing. Maybe I need to give it a URL. What's a URL? Maybe my website. The problem with my website is it's got... I'm just going to add the quotes in because it does nothing. So there we go. Oh wait. That's it. That's actually a thing that I wrote. It turns out that I didn't embed the video properly. Actually, I'll change that because that's a bit annoying, isn't it? Come on. Oops. Oh, it really is quite slow. Oh, and I just broke it. Assertion failed, left equals right. I wonder if I just... because I broke the... I wonder if I broke this epsilon thing and it actually did something bad. Oops. Oh no, no, that can't be right because I that can't be right because I didn't compile it with the defaults. So this, by the way, was me going to redirecting BBC UK. I was interviewed by BBC 4. Now I'm getting a whole bunch of errors. I don't know if that's normal or not. Probably is. Turns out that writing a web browser is really, really difficult. There are actually some shortcuts in the README. It's given me Control L opens a URL prompt. Oh, okay, so that's useful. So we'll go to Servo and I'll go to Control L. Enter a URL. Okay, so I'll go to https servo.org this time. Could not load page. Name or service not found. Control L. Let's try and do it without. Oh, it added HTTPS itself, which is weird. Okay. Aha. Okay, cool. It's actually working. There it is. It's rendering CSS badly, but it is a working web browser. So I'm now on the website. Oh, by the way, do you have Raise enabled? No, not in my Twitch stream. Sorry. That, yeah. Although I am an affiliate, no, I haven't actually been doing the Twitch. I'm actually really bad at Twitch. But thanks for the trying to raid. That was cool. I appreciate it. I'm sorry I suck at streaming. Do click follow or whatever, and I will get better over time, and there may be a chance to raid. I will, but at the moment there is not, so I apologize. So we got some really good questions. Is that assigned or versus unsigned if it's truncated? I'm not sure exactly which code we were looking at, but I appreciate the comment, Peter, because it's really important. And also feel free to kind of contribute and kind of interrogate it if you'd like. Okay, so now I want to try to do something fun and break something. And then I think I'm going to hang up because I... because I want to go to sleep. It's nearly 10:30. It's not so bad, but if I don't hang up now, I'll be awake until 3 a.m. So that's not useful. Where's something cool that I could do? I just want to change everything to green or something. Animation I don't really care about. Font face. URL source. Format hints. Oh, this is all a bit boring. I guess the problem is that there isn't a... This is just describing what fonts are, which isn't quite what I want. I have some CSS. Where do you... Okay, so here's a good question. Where... Oh, I might actually just pause the browser. Maybe we could do debug servo and go to the YouTube channel. Can it do YouTube? I know. So the best place is Twitter. So I'd say twitter.com/10clicks. Oh, and that won't work. That's wrong. Clicksa. Now this will take about 64 years. But yeah, so I am confused. Apparently SVG doesn't work on Servo. I might just use Firefox. So the best place to find me is my Twitter account. I also have a Discord, and I actively welcome you there. It's quite Rust centric, but it's got several, I'd say a few hundred now. There's always at least 50 people online, so you're more than welcome to join on Discord too. Yeah, but this is me. I am going to sign out. We have successfully compiled Servo. It took us about half an hour, and I visited some web pages. I also took everyone through all of the... so there's a really good question from John. Like, what else are you going to be doing? I want to create 2 streams, or sort of. I want to do 1 or 2 a week, and there'll be 2 main topics on this channel. One will be a Rust tutorial every week. I would quite like to regularly teach people Rust. And the other one would be something a little bit adjacent to Rust. So this is the first of that topic. So, Servo is relevant to the Rust project because of its heritage. It's kind of interesting, and I kind of wanted to give people exposure to it. And so I think I might go and open up the source code of several popular crates, or we can try and run a Rust operating system, or so I think I'll do 1 tutorial and 1 play per week, probably. But I haven't set an exact time. Probably it's likely to be on this time of the day, which starts about 9:30 p.m. my time, and 12 hours on the other side of the world for an American audience. So I'll probably start at about I don't know, probably 8 a.m. Which is about, I haven't landed about like 4 p.m. in the States, on the East Coast at least, and then and so hopefully I can kind of connect with an American audience as well as a European or Asian audience as well. So yeah. Oh, I've been using Warp a lot, which has been really fun. And that's Warp, by the way, is a really cool Rust project that is related to the web. So it is a oh, this is probably not the same Warp. Oh no, that's definitely not the same Warp. It's a web framework. The other tool that John mentions is a basic emulator. I have an emulator for a chip 8, which is a simpler CPU than the Z80. I could try to write one for the Z80 as well. Yes. So yes, maybe what I'll do is I'll alternate for my play stream. So I'll try and keep the tutorial ones fairly consistent, But for the other ones that are kind of more interesting or kind of more experimental, maybe there'll be live coding in there as well. Alternatively, or one other option would be to just have like a dedicated live coding stream, which is slightly less interactive, which is much more just watching me code and then me explaining what goes on. Yeah, so just in terms of writing an emulator, uh, yes, writing opcodes is extremely annoying and frustrating, but hopefully not completely impossible. Many other people have done it. Okay, and with that, I am going to say goodbye. I really have enjoyed hanging out for the hour. Do subscribe, follow, or whatever you'd like. I'll see you later. Take care. Bye.